So hello again, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. The topic today will be SWOOD BW, which stands for Beams and Walls. So you will discover this new module for timber construction. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Antoine Blondel, and I'm in charge of business development for EFICAD in Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Russia. I will go through the whole presentation first. It will last for about 30 minutes, and then I will take 5 minutes to answer your questions. So please do not hesitate to ask your questions using the question tools of GoToWebinar during the webinar, and I will answer all those questions at the end of this webinar. So to start, just a few words about the webinar series that we have started 6 weeks ago. So today is the last episode of this series. So we have presented 2 webinars a week for the last 6 weeks. We'll do a break now, but we'll come back in the future with even more presentation to present what's new and tips and tricks to use our solution as effectively as possible. So this series is this is the last episode of this series, but we'll come back later. So before starting this webinar, I've noticed that there were a few new person that has registered to this webinar. So I wanted to have to take a few seconds to give you a bit of background about our company, EFICAD. So as you can see here, so we have been founded in 1989. So we have been in this market, so the CAD/CAM software market, for about 30 years. We've started with SOLIDWORKS in 2001. And SWOOD, the first version of SWOOD was created in 2010. So that means that it is a product that has more than 10 years and that has a lot of experience of this market and of the needs of the market. So now just a few words about our solutions, so the SWOOD solutions. So first on the left here we have our cabinet and furniture solutions with a SWOOD design that allows you to create furniture and cabinet projects easily with libraries using drag and drop from these libraries. There are some woodworking oriented features for the materials and so on. And it allows you to use a unique methodology on your company. Then you have SWOOD CAM, which is a woodworking CAM, which is 100% dedicated to the wood. So that would allow you to manage all the special tools of those woodworking machines. And it works with geometric analysis to be able to recognize automatically the machinings on your project. Then you have some SWOOD CAM nesting that allows you to nest all your project, furniture and cabinet projects into one big nesting sheet. Top of that, we have the SWOOD report that allows to share and to create report and so on. So we'll see that in a very short video that I have accelerated here. So here you have the main function of SWOOD design first. So first how to create a frame, so the carcass. Then how to add connectors between those panels with the SWOOD features. Then here you can see all the material management, so how to change material, apply edge bands and so on. Then now we are adding some components using SWOOD boxes. Now here you can see SWOOD CAM, so you can create the program easily. And now we'll be able to see very quickly here the reports, so all the documents that are created automatically. And finally here the nesting results from the project that we have seen before. So those are our products for, as I've said, furniture and cabinets products. Then we have as well SWOOD centers, which is a configurator, and that was presented on our last session, so on this Tuesday. So again here, a very short video to present you shortly what this SWOOD center is. So basically it will allow you to configure your SWOOD model, because as it is totally parametric, you will have an access to different parameters that you will define yourself, and that will allow to reuse your project and change them very easily. So for instance, here the number of drawers, number of shelves, dimension of the cabinet and so on, everything can be customized very easily with this SWOOD center product. Okay, and so the last one is SWOOD BW, so which is our solution for timber construction, and that use special machines. And this is the module, the solution that we'll focus on this webinar. All right, so let's have a look at today's agenda. So as you can see, it will be split in 6 different parts. So we'll start with a short introduction of SWOOD BW. Then we'll see how to create a timber construction project on SolidWorks. Then we'll see how to define machinings on a part automatically for this project. Then I'll talk about the benefits of SWOOD BW. We'll then have a look at the kind of machines that we can manage with this solution, and finally some example of projects done with SWOOD BW. Okay, so let's start with a general presentation of this solution. So what is exactly SWOOD BW? So SWOOD BW is our solution for construction of timber frame building, roofs, floors, but also projects such as carports, stairs, wooden structures, and etc. So actually any kind of project that use wooden beams or wooden walls. So why are we not using SWOOD for those projects as well? This is what we'll see here, but the main reason is because of the machines used for those projects. So the language is different than the machine used for cabinets or furniture projects. Also, the shape of the beams and walls are quite standard. So with SWOOD BW, through a beams and walls library saved, you will be able to manage your beams. So this kind of square beams that we can see here. You can as well manage I-beams, since the last version rounded beams as well, and all the walls. So regarding the format, there are 2 main formats in the market. So BVX, which is the format used for Hundiger machine, and then BTL, that is the format that is used for machines such as Weinmann from HOMAG or Unitim from BSC. So what are the prerequisites to use SWOOD BW? So first of all, have a SolidWorks license. So as for the other SWOOD product, this is a SolidWorks add-on, so you will need a SolidWorks license to be able to work with SWOOD BW. But this is a standalone add-on, so it is not linked with other SWOOD products. So you could use this SWOOD BW product without SWOOD CAM, without SWOOD design, etc. So let's move on to the second part, which is on how to design this kind of project on SolidWorks. So now I will briefly explain one of the possibilities that you have to be able to design your timber project using SolidWorks with weldments. So I will detail the different features and then show you an example on a project. So first of all, the easiest way to design that kind of project will be to use the weldments features of SolidWorks to create all your frames. Then there are a bunch of other features that can be used on your project to design them easily. So first of all, as you can see here, you have the weldments to create easily the frame models. Then you could use, for instance, trim extend to cut the beams, so one to another. Then you will be able to cut with surface to create chamfer and so on. Combine as well to subtract one body to another, which is very useful. For instance, when you have turn on and mortise, you just have to do the turn on and then it will create the mortise on the other beams. You can use as well the hole wizard to define your holes on your project easily. You have as well the indent features that will allow you to propagate a cut to other bodies. Then the cut extrude to define a joint between 2 beams, so mortise or these kind of things, or to create a cut, for instance, on the floors if you want to have some stairs. This is what we'll see on the video after. Then you could use as well the draft features to be able to create a draft for dovetails. Some dovetails are after drafts, so it's always easy to use these features for that. Boss extrude as well to create a joint, so the turn-ons that will go with the mortise. Mirror as well to do symmetric projects. Pattern to be able to duplicate one things that you would have designed. And finally, you can use as well the design libraries to define and reuse your joint design. So just so you know, you could as well use the SWOOD design libraries, so with the connectors, the SWOOD connectors capabilities, to define those joints and apply them easily with this contact surface recognition. But I haven't listed there because we don't have any kind of special joint for this application yet in the library, so I haven't listed there. So let's have a look at the videos that we have presented there. So here we have a project, so which is here a two-story garage. So you can see here that we have first defined the general shapes of this garage, and then you will be able to see that here by using sketches, we'll be able to start to create the floors. So with one first beams, then other beams and a pattern to be able to create the floors. Here you can see that we have used this cut extrude to create the cuts for the stairs. Then we'll focus here on the rear wall. So first here you'll be able to see here this sketch that will define the frame of this wall. Then using, as I have explained, the weldment's capabilities, we'll just create the beams based on these frames. Now we'll create as well the beams for the walls. And now step by step, we'll do the same for the other walls. So the left and right walls, the front walls. Now you will see that you can use it as well for the second story and for the roofs very easily. So here with the dormers, everything will be created quite easily with the weldments here on SOLIDWORKS directly. So you can see that you can use definitely the SOLIDWORKS capabilities to create your project, and you will be able as well, this is what we'll see after that, as it is a parametric software, to be able to reuse your project by changing the dimension and so on. So let's move on now to the third part, which is about the CAM export. So regarding the CAM export, which is the main function of SWOOD BW, so just as SWOOD CAM automatic machinings, it is based on geometry analysis and shape recognition. So for this kind of project, there are some special joints that are used that you can see here. You have some examples with tenon, dovetail, lap joints, ridge laps, bird mouth. All these kind of joints are specific to this kind of machines, and we'll be able to detect all those shapes and export them to the machine language. So then you will have to configure your machine. You will have the possibility to configure on how you would like to detect those shapes. So for instance, here, first you will have to define the kind of language you want to use. So as I've said, you have BTL and BVX mainly. Then here, for instance, for the dovetail recognition, you will have some parameters. So the same here for the lap joints, if you want to detect them as lap joints or as saw cuts. Then here, the same with slots, you will have some configuration that you can use to be able to detect them or not based on your needs. Then when you would have done that, you would have, as I have explained as an introduction, a section library. So here you will define all the kind of sections that you are using, so the kind of beams dimensions and so on. So you will just have here to create one, so beams or panel. You can create these square beams, I-beams, and rounded beams or panels, and then reuse them as much as you want on your project. So let's now have a look at this first video, so where I have used a carport model here. So you can see that we have used the weldment capabilities here of SOLIDWORKS to create this carport. And then we have used some cuts and so on to create the joints. So here you can see the model with the weldments. And so now if I go on tools, we now have this SWOOD BW. Here you still have the old name, but now it's named SWOOD BW. And here it will detect all the parts. And just by clicking here on the play button, it will actually detect all the beams and the sections and so on. So you can see that now all the beams has been detected there. And so if I isolate, for instance, this specific part, you can see that you have some different machinings to do on these beams. And they are actually already detected there. So you have the sockets for the chamfer on the top, the tenon on the bottom. You have here the dovetail, then the mortise that are there and there. So all those machinings has been detected automatically, as I've explained at the beginning, based on shape recognition and geometric analysis. So basically, you just have to click on a button, and now the code has been created. So now directly as well from the interface, we'll be able to open here this program. So here it will open the machine software. So here it is a Cambium for Hundiger machine. And so here I'm just on the machine software interface, and you can see that here again we can find the machinings that has been detected with the sockets, turn-on, dovetails, and so on. And you have again here an access to the configuration. So if you need to do some changes, change the tools and so on, you'll be able to do it directly on the machine software as well. So let's now see what are the benefits of this solution of SWOOD BW. So first of all, regarding design. So as you have seen, for the design, you will be able to use the SOLIDWORKS capabilities. So that means that you will have a very flexible modeling tools. So compared to other solutions where you cannot have the modeling freedom that you have with SOLIDWORKS, here you can do any kind of shapes. The projects are as well parametric, so that means that you will be able to reuse your project. So this is particularly interesting for instance, carport, pergolas, this kind of thing, where you have to adapt to the size of the terrace, of the garage, and so on. So yeah, that would mean that you will just have to create once your model and then reuse them. Another thing is that you would be able to import your files. So these shape recognitions are available on any kind of 3D model. So you could import steps, EGES, SAT file, whatever kind of generic 3D files to then create the program for the machine. You would have as well be able to create automatically SOLIDWORKS drawings, as you can see here on the right tab. So another thing that I wanted to show you directly on the video is regarding those parametric capabilities. So here we have this carport model on which we have seen the CAM export. So you can see here that this carport model is totally parametric. We have some equation there that has been defined to be able to change when the global dimension will change. And so if I go there on the custom properties, I will be able to drive those parameters. So here I'm just going to use SWOOD design capabilities to be able to make it a bit more easy to understand, but you can change those parameters directly from the custom properties. So here, as you can see, I've changed the width, and you can see that all the part has adapted to these new dimensions. So now the length, and you can see that now you have a carport with totally different dimensions. And so that means that you will be able to reuse this carport at any moment and make this carport fit to the place, to the space which is available on your specific project. So that means that yes, with the parametric capabilities, you would be able to reuse all the project that you would have designed very easily, as you can see here. So then regarding the CAM benefits of SWOOD BW, so the first thing is that you will be able to export from different levels. So you'll be able to create those machining programs on a part, on the sub-assemblies, as we have seen before, or directly on the full project with a lot of different construction model on it and apply it just at once. You have as well a full associativity between the SOLIDWORKS geometric entities and the machinings. So any changes you do on the design is then propagated to the CAM, and you can just update your programs directly to be able to create a new programs and a new project out of your design. Several machine configuration are allowed, so you'd be able to manage on which machine you want to send those programs if you have different ones on your workshop. There is as well 5-axis recognitions and 5-axis machinings embedded with that, and multiple recognized joints. So almost all the joints that are useful in this kind of project are recognized with with this SWOOD BW project. So here you have a few examples of those joints. So you have some again dovetails, bird mouth, and so on. So all those kind of shapes will be recognized by SWOOD BW. So here I have listed again the kind of project on which you will be able to use SWOOD BW. So SWOOD BW would be useful on all of this project, but as I have seen, as projects such as carports, cabin, wooden houses, and so on, could be parametric and could be reused. This is definitely the kind of project on which it will be very effective to use SWOOD BW to be able to reuse your project and update your program based on the new dimension that you would input. So let's move on to the fifth part about the machines that can be managed with this module. So first of all, here I wanted to present you a videos of one of those machines, so to show you how it works. So here you have the beams. You can see here the saw to create the cuts at the end of the beams. Then we'll be able to see here that this cutter will then cut these beams based on the model that we have there. So you can see here the first pass, then here the second pass. So you can see that the movement and so on of these machines are quite different to the woodworking CNC machines. So this is why as well the language is different. And we will be able to manage all those machines. So with SWOOD BW by exporting the programs directly, like a kind of macros on the machine language. So here you have a second example. So you have seen again the cuts from the saw, and here you can see that with this cutter we are creating here a turn-on on an inclined plane on this project. So you can see how those kind of machine works there. All right. So now I have listed here all the brand of machines that we can manage. So the three main one I would say in this market are Hundeger, Weinmann, and SCM from Uniteam, but we have as well post-processor available for SCM, Technowood, Reichenbacher, Crusy, etc., and so on. So let's now finish this presentation about some projects that were created with SWOOD BW. But first, let's have a look at the kind of project that you could do with this module. So this is a non-exhaustive list of the kind of project that could be produced with SWOOD BW, but as I have presented during the presentation, you could use it for modular homes, outdoor spaces such as sheds, deck, patios, carports, pergolas, and so on. Park games as well. There's more and more wooden park games, so they use this kind of machine as well. Tiny houses are getting common as well. And finally, projects such as attic, carpentries, and so on, that you will be able to use SWOOD BW for this kind of project. So now you can have a few examples of projects that were done with SWOOD BW. So on the left, you have Hyber, which is a German company that does wooden playground. Then you have Meyer Timbers that does wooden warehouse and that use SWOOD BW as well. And then on the right, you have two French companies, so Smart Module Concept that does modular home, and finally Menuiserie de l'Ouest that does mainly carport, pergolas, and so on. And they are all already using SWOOD BW to be able to produce those kind of projects with SWOOD BW.